Good Sunday morning. Hope you're having a wonderful start to the Lord's Day and happy Palm Sunday. We are commemorating Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem. And guess what? He has triumphal entry into all of our lives. We have a victory in every area. So he remains there. There's a triumphal entry, but he sits at the seat of our heart. And we are in a brand new letter, which only has one chapter. I didn't realize this. 3rd John, the third epistle of John, and Timotheus has enlightenment with the first few verses. So I'm gonna throw it at him.
I don't like when you push it all the way towards me. Share the camera. All right, verse 2. I pray that you're doing well in every other way, and that you're healthy. So I don't know, maybe like hundreds of years ago, they would determine how rich you were based on like how fat you were and how much weight you had, because I guess maybe they knew you was eating good or whatever. But it's different nowadays, and that's how they measure wealth. Like, that's how humans would measure wealth. But that's not how God measures wealth. Like, he measures wealth based on how much we're living for him, and how much we're not complaining with life, and we're being content. That's wealth, and we wake up every day and we're thankful. So, and we also have to be healthy. Like, we can't do the Lord's work being all lethargic with all that blubber holding us down. So it's important to to maintain our bodies so that we can do the Lord's work to our fullest abilities. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Amen. I have a question, and it has something to do with that verse, because the Lord spoke to me about this. So sit down, honey. So, you hear about Steve Harvey and, just all this with Monique. And then I went back, and I didn't know about his ex-wife. People have beef with him because, he left his, first wife and second wife and was playing whatever. But I didn't realize his second wife tried to charge him with murder. And I was like, murder of the soul. And when I read that, I was like, oh no, soul murder. And this goes right with the scripture as far as that your soul prospering. No man, no woman. And, my son just told me about, a couple who, are in the fringes, hopefully not divorced, but, they're separating. Look, you don't give your soul to anybody. You are to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, soul, mind, and strength. What is that? Deuteronomy 6:5. You're only to give your devotion to the Lord. Now you are, supposed to, become one, right? But when that other person lets you down, yeah, that's why it's so devastating. People are, drinking and, having, taking drugs and doing all this crazy stuff to try to numb the pain. But if you love the Lord thy God, if you put your all into him and him alone, when these life circumstances happen, you're not devastated. You're not falling off your feet, right? You're not like, whoa, and you're not ready to jump. No, you're not ready to take your life. And this is called devotion. Your soul is only devoted to the Lord, right? I just quoted Deuteronomy 6:5, right? Where we're to love thy God with all thy heart, soul, mind. But in verse 6, we're to teach our youth, our children, so that they can be equipped for what happens in life. When there's a disappointment or a devastation, that they just don't end it all. But what are we to do? We are to diligently teach our children the words of God. We shall talk of them when thou sittest in thy house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up, right? We should have this as a reminder always, so that we won't have this craziness. There's no soul death that a man can cause. Also in this chapter, The Lord wants us to be fellow helpers in verse 8, to be content in whatsoever circumstance in verse 10, to follow that which is good and not which is evil. That's in verse 11. We are to have a good report of all men, to seek that, to bear record of the witness of the Lord. And in verse 14, to have fellowship face to face with one another. I know a lot of people are suffering depression, because life is hard. But y'all, no. You make sure that you celebrate this Palm Sunday, because we have victory and triumph. We're a winner in every circumstance. Whether you're about to face bankruptcy, whether you just faced a firing, whether your children just walked out, they're on drugs, whatever. God reigns on the throne, and he reigns in your life if he is king and preeminent. Have a wonderful day of worship in the Lord.